Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media, just taking a look at Image Comics 2024 Origins hardcover release of Sam and Twitch by Brian Michael Bendis, Angelo Medina, Ashley Wood on the covers, although there's other artists like Jamie Tolagson as well as Alberto Ponticelli. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now, Sam and Twitch, it's always been this somewhat taboo thing from my childhood, or at least my elementary years. Because, when Spawn came out, it was a very, it was a very off kind of typical superhero world. So, your parents would typically not want you to read it because it was too graphic or violent, but it just made you want to read it all the more. But what's great about this series is that these characters had already been established for like a good 7 years before it debuted in '99. So, there was already a rich history, and kind of what I like about the approach of Bendis' writing here. But anywho, at least getting back to the nature of this channel, at least on the exterior, you'll already notice it's very familiar with the, the Spawn Origins hardcovers, not the deluxes, just the Origins ones. But the irony is, at least in terms of DC deluxes or Marvel oversized or even the omnibus format, this book actually shares the same dimensions. This is usually typical of Image Comics, right? But yeah, just to give you an idea, there's your typical DC deluxe, same size as an Omni or Marvel oversize. And even though you can kind of see the Image book kind of is protruding, the actual paper trim itself is actually the same. So it's virtually the same kind of format. But I've always loved the way Image approaches hardcovers. This is usually their normal format. But anywho, aside from this awesome Ashley Wood cover here, I've always appreciated that art style. It's pretty much in line with the other Spawn Origins hardcovers, even down to the spine design. I love that Image flat spine, but you'll even notice the badging and titles match up with the Spawn releases. And of course, a very prominent and very accurate little bit of a synopsis here. Hard edge crime fiction absolutely nails the theme of this kind of book, so it's very on point in that respect. Now, in terms of art and plot points, I guess I'm ahead of myself. I guess in terms of bonus material in this case, it is your typical bag of variant covers and a little bit of an interview. So you just have more of these Ashley Wood covers. I've always appreciated Ashley Wood's work because I've always thought of Metal Gear. There was the comic, but there was also that game, Portable Ops, which used Ashley Wood's like motion comics basically, just for the cutscenes for that game. Always appreciated it. But yeah, you're kind of seeing it here. You're getting your typical fare, a very awesome rendering of Spawn himself, very on point. And then you're also getting, as I mentioned, just a little brief, a little bit of a nugget of an interview here. But personally, this one's the better of the two. The behind the scenes, where you're getting an explanation of the panel design and the logic behind this particular case. So definitely appreciate that. And yeah, just one final little cover there. Of course, Greg Capullo doing his thing. But nonetheless, at least in terms of art and plot points, because you're probably wondering what kind of story are you going to get within this Spawn Youngbloods, universe. Surprisingly, this story, or should I say this series, was very grounded in reality. So right off the bat, I love this establishing shot, or at least this introduction, because it does get mirrored on the next issue. Very on point, but it's basically a media res story. And the first 8 issues, they're kind of dedicated to this storyline called Udaku. These mercenary killers. But it also serves as kind of a grounding effect, or at least an establishing point for where Sam and Twitch are. Because, they've been fired, they've been rehired. People look at them sideways because they think that they're on the take or they're IA or something like that. So it's always been that kind of thing. But one thing I want to mention about this particular release, and it's something I have to mention, even though this is at the beginning of the book, I've noticed it's a problem throughout. The way this book is binded, it doesn't really benefit 2-page spreads. That gutter loss you're going to get, it's very odd for an Image book to kind of mess that up, because they're usually very good. Even this Spawn one here it's immaculate. This Department of Truth, it's perfect. But it's very odd, especially since this story lends so much to the 2-page spread. So I don't know. It's just something I felt that I needed to mention right off the bat. But essentially, the story does center around all these killings of mobsters. Go figure, Todd McFarlane, Brian Michael Bendis, they're going to use mobsters as the victims. Basically, no sympathy, I guess, for these kind of deaths or whatnot. At least that's what they're trying to establish. And speaking of which, they're also including this new character, Casey McCory, who kind of serves as their, well, she's ultimately the ME. But I love how they established her character very early on. And speaking of which, I definitely love this method of storytelling. I've always loved this grid design toward any sort of comic because it allows so much information to come across without really having to do too much art, but at the same time still capturing a scene and capturing a conversation excellently. And that's another thing about this book. The lettering is so perfect. Yes, it'll change between white and black just based on the image in the background, but also it's very, very telling of how good of an author you can be when you don't even have to see the person to know who's talking, because you've established the character so well at this point. So very on point nonetheless. But yes, even down to this scene where you can get this impression that while, yes, Sam Burke, he's very, crass, he's very dirty. Well, not a dirty cop, but just, a slothful kind of dude. He can be very belligerent, but at the same time, there's still a sense of duty and, respect there. And I like how this whole scene plays out, because they're cussing at each other, they're mocking each other, and yet, they can still appreciate each other's work. They're both on the same side at the end of the day. So definitely appreciate that aspect for it. Probably one of the other things is the way they establish these Udaku killers. I like how, even though they seem supernatural, there is a sense of grounded effect or grounded logic to what they are. But yeah, this is just giving you an idea of Medina's pacing and plotting for the panels. Very on point. You can follow the action very well, considering this scene definitely moves around. And you'd be surprised how agile or how much energy that Sam actually has. It's pretty damn impressive. But yeah, just an awesome scene that plays out and kind of gives you the idea of the threat that these characters possess. So very on point in that light. But kind of like what I mentioned earlier, how there was that earlier establishing shot for this series. This one opens pretty much the same way, but this time it's Sam, but just a little different on what's on the bar. Appreciate that little sense of detail. But yeah, again, you're getting this excellent panel design by Medina. So I like how he doesn't really try to waste too much energy or too much time on, useless panels. Everything kind of has a sense of progression to it. There's no real waste to many things. So definitely appreciate that. It's surprising in that light. And another aspect of this book is the way they present information. So as Sam is interviewing, a dead cop's wife, you can kind of see Twitch at the bottom just consistently, or constantly, I should say, investigating on his own, and it just continues kind of giving you that theme as well, how motivated Twitch can be. Just, yeah, it's very, very clever storytelling being employed here, very on point. But the whole Udaku story, I love the overall ending of it. It's, as I said, it's surprising how much it pretty much nails that this is going to be ultimately a grounded story. They're still legitimate cops, and they can still make a difference. Even though Spawn's dealing with some, young blood or, supernatural kind of issues. It's pretty on point, and I definitely dug the way this one ultimately played out. Had that sense of gravity to it. Kind of reminded me of 100 Bullets at the end. But this next one here, this is just a one-shot, and it's pretty much a single issue where it's all done by this first-person perspective angle. So, it's just some random, I guess, hood or whatever. Dean is the character's name, and every panel you're seeing is basically through this character's eyes. The entire book, you see it through the character's eyes. So yeah, obviously, as you can tell, they're just shooting the shit. Sorry for my language. But essentially, they're just at a card game. There's a cheat going on, and you can kind of see how it plays out. Pretty awesome. Something clearly happens, and yeah, he's got to get out of there. And that's what I like about this. it kind of just matches the overall theme that, yeah, even this red overlay, the character's panicking and he's just in a blur, in a haze. Hence why you see it kind of play out that way. And probably the only shots you actually get of Dean when he looks in the mirror there. Very clever. Even down to when he sees his wife with another man kind of thing, the way that plays out. Very, very impressive. But one of my favorite things is this whole chase scene where, it goes up the side of a building. He ends up tripping and falling. You can follow the motion. You get your little cameo of Spawn. But I just like the way this one overall plays out, especially the irony of its ending, its conclusion. So definitely appreciate that. But yeah, that artist really did show up. That's for sure. Damn. But this last one here, Witchcraft. It's a little bit shorter. It's like a 4-part story. But essentially, again, it's kind of reminding you that, yeah, just because things seem supernatural at first, with a title like Witchcraft, there's a little bit more going on. So unfortunately, these women, they were just in Central Park, just doing some sort of like ritual thing. And unfortunately, they end up getting murdered horrifically, I would say. But damn. Now, one thing I do like, though, is just the way the artist, he kind of matches, and the same thing kind of goes for Medina, where they both kind of blend Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo style very well. Like, these stories and this art really does fit in with what was going on with Spawn at the time. Definitely. Especially the early days, still in the 90s. This particular series is from like 1999 and, kind of blended into the 2000s. But still, definitely appreciate the way this one kind of plays out, because it goes on this more, I guess, what's it called? This more spiritual take on witchcraft. So not everybody's in it for like, trying to conjure demons. Some people are just trying to find, inner peace or whatnot. So definitely appreciate that they show you that side of this whole, I guess, I don't know, what's the word? This whole practice of witchcraft, that not everyone's trying to be evil. They're trying to get something, at least something to better themselves. Unfortunately, there is a killer out there who's targeting people like this for their own rationale. I like the ending and the way it also kind of hints toward a metaphysical curse kind of thing, but in reality, it's just people creating the demons for themselves. But definitely like the whole way that this interrogation, or should I say this procedural drama, goes about. Because, as mentioned, this series is surprisingly more grounded than you realize. And it's actually pretty much a procedural detective story as well. Kind of like Gotham Central. And it actually reminded me of that Dave Simon book as well. That's one of my favorite, true crime novels out there. And this does parallel a lot of what I've at least been exposed to from that series. But yeah, even the way they set up the sting, the way it all goes down, it's pretty damn heavy. And it's pretty damn awesome. The overall implementation of it. But nonetheless, at least at this point, this is just the first volume. There is a second one on the way, and I'm definitely planning on picking it up. And that's kind of my 2 cents as well. This series, absolute pickup, because it was surprisingly very consistent. You understand these characters. You realize that, yeah, as much as you want to think one is a nerd and one is just a louse, they're true police. They actually believe in their jobs. And when it comes to being cops, they're incredibly good at it. But you know what? That's just my 2 cents about this. Hopefully you guys got your own. And as always, I wouldn't mind seeing them in the comments down below. As always. Y'all folks take care and enjoy the rest of your day.